Hey everybody, I'm Joe. I'm a physical therapist in Fox Point. I'm here to talk today about some of the limitations that we see in our overhead athletes and specifically our throwing athletes, and that's limited overhead extension. A lot of the times we see individuals, especially high school athletes, males specifically, they get really tight lifting their arm overhead just because they're starting to work out, they're starting to do more, and their body's changing through puberty. So today we're going to talk about more where I think some of this tightness comes from in our lat. So we're going to go through a self-mobilization technique, 2 different exercises to help your lat tightness, and then talk about another active stretch and strengthening exercise to help to make you throw better. So the first tip we're going to go through is how to self-mobilize or soft tissue mobilize the area where your lat attaches underneath your armpit and to your arm. So with the lacrosse ball or a mobilization ball like this, you're just going to stick it against the wall. And most people that I see, especially overhead athletes, they're super tender in this area, so it should be easy to find that spot where it hurts. And you're just going to first mobilize back and forth. Once it feels like that area is softening up and isn't as tender, you can add arm lifts up and down. So what we're doing now with motion is making sure that muscle loosens up and that area can move a little better. You kind of just keep working back and forth, rounds of a minute, and then take a break. So the next exercise I want to show everybody is we're going to use a dowel to help stretch our lats and our upper back. If you have a dowel at home like this, it works great. You can use a broomstick handle. Baseball, softball players, you guys can use your baseball bats, which are probably long enough for softball bats. You want to have your forearms on the table, underhand grip, just like I have here. And you're just going to sit back and think about moving your butt back and kind of flexing up with your arms and stretching out where that lat attaches, right where we just self-mobilized with the trigger point ball. We're going to use this to help our mobility as well. And you just go back and forth so you get a nice stretch, and then come on back in. The goal is to be able to do this 2 rounds of 10 back and forth, holding that stretch position for 5 to 10 seconds. So the next one we're going to show is a lift off on the ground. You can do it on the ground like I am here. If you want to do it on your bed or an elevated surface that has a pad, wherever you can get in a 4-point position, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. So the big thing, you're going to start on all 4s, and you're going to flip whatever your throwing arm is. I always start with my right arm because I throw with my right arm. Eventually we're going to do both arms too because it is important to make sure we're stretching both sides. Start with your throwing arm. Just flip your hand over and sit your butt back kind of in a child's pose yoga position. And you should feel a stretch right underneath your arm back here. From here, you're going to try and lift. And we're going to do 10. You should feel a huge stretch in your lat, which is down your side back here and in the back of the shoulder. Once you get to 10, take a break and you can go to the other side. It's okay this first time if you're starting to stretch and you can't do it, not to have the lift off. Just being in this position will isolate back here to stretch everything out and make things feel better. Once you feel loosened up, you can try and add a lift. So what I think is also important is after we've done all this stretching to increase our overhead motion, and actually if you see me here after I've done these, my overhead motion's gotten better, is we also need to make sure the shoulder is stable, because anytime we throw, it's a really unstable movement. We need to make sure the back of our shoulder can support that motion. So you're going to take, if you have a baseball, softball, any ball that you have at home that can go on the wall, as you get stronger, we can add some weight to it as we go. You're going to keep the ball at shoulder height, and you're going to just make 20 circles clockwise, and then you're going to go 20 circles the other way, so counterclockwise. The goal is to make a circle with your eyes and try and trace it as close as you can, because at that point we're also working on our control. Especially as a young pitcher, our body control is not the best just because we're going through puberty, we're starting to work out. We want to make sure that our body and our eyes can control exactly where our motion's going. So those are 4 important exercises that I think are important to increase overhead mobility and that are really important in our throwers, baseball, softball athletes, or anybody else that's throwing an object.